Good morning, everybody. Today we'll start with the module 5. In this last module, we are going to see managing the state, what is a state and how to manage that. Then the problem of state in web application. How does getting the actual state, because continuously user is interacting. When the user is interacting, the state will be keep on changing. So how does that cause a problem? Passing information via query strings, passing information via URL paths, cookies, serialization is the technique where we convert object into binary format ones and zeros. Basically that is used for a kind of a one thing is for a storage, or it can be used for the communication purposes. And deserialization is opposite from that binary format, converting back into the actual object, that is a deserialization. Session state, then HTML5 web storage, caching, advanced JavaScript and jQuery. In that we are going to see JavaScript pseudo classes, jQuery foundations, Ajax, then asynchronous file transmission. Ajax is like a this is see many of these technologies what we are talking about in the module 5, they are at a very high level, but it gives a good exposure to that area where you have to work on your own or read more stuff, so that you get some kind of a expertise in order to uh, develop some application, for example managing a state. So that itself is a it is not at a very detailed level. For that matter, many topics here they have included, they are at a very high level, which will give a good idea about those technologies. And by knowing that, you can further explore on those ideas and get skilled enough to do some application development in that particular area. JavaScript pseudo classes, jQuery foundations, Ajax, asynchronous file transmission, animation, backbone, MVC frameworks. MVC is a model view controller, that how it is implemented using backbone. Then XML processing and web services. We will see what are web services. Then XML processing, JSON objects we will see, and overview of the web services. All these things are part of the module 5. We start with the managing the state. So first of all, what is a state? As I told you, whenever you create a web application and when it is a user is interacting with that web application, it goes through different states. The states, in the sense there are many parameters, many variables that will be used as per the user interaction or as per the user actions. The state will be keep on changing. Maybe user has entered certain text inputs, and maybe he has clicked on submit button or some other button, search button, or so the state will keep on changing, and that state has to be managed. And unlike in desktop applications, it's very easy because we have only one process. All the process will be running on one system, particular desktop, and it has the access to the memory. So there is no problem with the state, because always whatever the current state is there, it is available in the memory and application can have a access. So in this section, we are going to see the problem of state, passing information via query strings, passing information via URL path. We are going to see cookies, serialization, what is session state, HTML5 web storage, and finally the caching. The problem of state in web applications. As I told you, in case of a desktop applications, whenever a application is running, so it will have all the information that is stored on the memory. Okay, and the desktop application, whichever the process it is running, it will have access to that particular memory, and all the state will be stored there. So that is how, like, whatever the operation you are doing, let us say you are opening some kind of a file or saving a file, all those information with every action you have the current state. Unlike in case of a browser application, every request is a independent HTTP request, and it will run the process on the server. Once it responds, the session will be closed. So every session that is sorry, every request that is going to the server, it is a separate, and server has a, unless we change it programmatically, server has a no way to identify that it is coming from the same user. Let us say we have a web application, user clicks on open, it goes as a separate independent request to certain program, maybe like open.php, and let us say then next user action is save. Server has a no mechanism to know that these two requests are coming from the same user unless we change program programmatically. That is what we are going to see. So that is how everything managing the state, what the current state from one request to another request, it is challenging in case of web applications. Unlike the unified single process that is a typical desktop application, web application consists of a series of disconnected HTTP requests to the web server, where each request for the server page is essentially request to run a separate program. So as we already understand, in case of a desktop, it is just one application which is running. Until and unless you close that application, everything will be on the memory, and every process has access to that memory, and it can know the what is the state. But in case of a web application, like every request is independent, okay, and it is totally disconnected from the other HTTP request, and managing the state, because every request might change the state of the application. That state will not be aware if there is a some other request. So we will see how that can be managed. The HTTP protocol does not, without programming intervention, distinguish two requests by one source from two requests from two different sources. So, unless we make programmatical changes, there is no way HTTP protocol knows it is coming from the same source or different sources. So here you can see the state one example how the problem in case of a web applications. You can see here user, he is making requests. So you can see there are two requests. One is like requesting the index.php get request, another get request product.php. For the server, it would be like these two requests are totally independent. It has no way to know these are coming from the same user. For server, it is like this. So one user is requesting in the index.php, and another user is requesting another php. It will not know it is coming from the same source. So here you can see in this case, user with the first request is add product to the shopping cart and go to checkout and pay for the item in the cart. So these are the two actions that user is supposed to do. One is like adding certain product into the shopping cart, and once the shopping cart is ready, there is another action that has to be carried out, that is check out the items and make the payment. Now if you don't know the what is the state, okay, current state, so when user is adding at like whatever the products that has been added, that current state is not available to the process which is going to take care of the payment, then you will have two disconnected. Maybe like if the state is not up to date, some of the added products will not appear in the payment. So that is the kind of a problem we are going to face without having a management of the proper state. If you don't manage the state, then we will end up in having discrepancies in the different actions that are taken care by the different processes of a web application. So how do we reach our desired outcome? Means how we can solve this? What mechanisms are available within the HTTP to pass the information to the server in our request? This already we have seen with every HTTP request, we can send the information as a query string, right? So in case of a GET, it would be a part of the URL. In case of the POST, it would be part of the HTTP header. So that as a part of a query string, we can send the information or the a state to the server. Then other mechanism is the cookies. So we will see what is the cookies. Using cookies, we can have a state managed at the a client side, that is the browser side, passing information via query strings. We have seen this earlier in the examples when we were dealing with the forms. And when we click on this is a simple form, you can see we have artist label, and this is the input of type text, year, again an input of type text, and nationality, and it's a drop down list we have, and we have a submit button. So user will enter the information, artist name, year, and he will select one of the value from the drop down, and he click on the submit button. Either this form can use a get request or the a post request. Depending upon the get request or the post request, the query, whatever the information the user has added here, it will be sent to the server as a query string. For first example, the method is used by the form is a get method, action process.php. This is how the query string will be framed. We will have process.php, that is a PHP file, question mark. From here, the query string will begin. Each of these the key value pair will be separated by the ampersand. You can see the first field is the artist, and artist is having a value Picasso, that is the value entered by the user. Ampersand, this is the next input, that is year is equal to 1906 1906. Then separated by the ampersand, then we have the nation, this particular input, nation is equal to Spain. So this is how we send using the get request. If it is a post request, it would be part of the HTTP header. The query string is exactly the same, only it is part of the HTTP header. You can see the same query string. That is how the values are passed to the server. Passing information via the URL path. So another way of passing the information to the server is using the URL path. So dynamic URLs, that is query string parameters, are a pretty essential part of the web application development. How can we pass using the URL path? We can rewrite the dynamic URL into a static one. This process is commonly called as URL rewriting. So whatever is the dynamic URL, we will change it into a static URL, and that is called URL rewriting. We have some examples here. First thing is like as a normal regular query string, we can try doing our own rewriting. Let us begin with the following URL with its query string information. Suppose if we use the query string, this is how the information will be sent to the server. You have the domain here, www.somedomain.com/, then this is the PHP code, question mark, then you will have the query string, where you will have the key value pair of all the input input controls that are on the form. They are separated by the ampersand. So this is what we are going to rewrite. The one approach that we can follow is we can have something like this. So we can have the same somedomain.com/artist/16.php. So whatever is the artist code, you are identifying by the 16 in on the server side. You are using that particular 16 number in some way, so that you can do the further processing. Here, instead of sending like this, we can have a folder called artist, and then we can have the 16.php. So what you are doing, you are replacing this query string by a path. Okay, so that in this particular URL, you can notice the query string name and value have been turned into path names. So these are the path names. On the server side, on the root directory, I have a folder called artist. Inside that folder, I have file 16.php. That is the meaning of this. And we can improve this also, which will be helpful for the SEO. Okay, engine optimization. If you have a the URL link which is search engine optimization friendly, then whenever there is a search, your website will be listed with the top ranking. Means your website will be listed on the top. So this is how we can represent. Even better way of writing this one is artist, then forward slash Mary Cassatt. So in this example, you can see it clearly tells the search engine that it is artist, and this is the name of the artist, and that way you can have further information that will be easily retrieved by the search engine. And whenever there is a similar search that is been done by the search engine, your website would be listed on the top. This is the one example where they are searching. This is the search page. uh, so you can this particular name has been searched. Okay, and you can see how the results are listed. You can see the top one, the top, the URL, it is not readable here, that is given here, http some arts7.com. Then this is the name of the artist, Raffaella Donna Vellata. That is the name. That is some of part of this name might be searched in the search engine. You can see this is a very simple way of putting that information. The search engine SEO will easily find this particular website, and it will be listed on the top. Similarly, you can see the next one. Okay, and this one is they are having a folder called Raphael, and then the information, so that is listed as third. And the last one, the listing you can see is the information is set as a query string. You can see there is a query string, some ASP page, and in the title you can see that particular name is there. So if you have like this, like maybe it is not SEO friendly, it will be not listed on the top websites. URL rewriting in Apache. In case of Apache, we have mod underscore rewrite module. So this is the module that is used for the URL rewriting, and it uses the rule-based rewriting engine that utilizes Perl compatible regular expression to change the URLs so that the requested URL can be mapped or redirected. So that is how it is a rule based. It will map whatever is the requested. It will map to the actual URL, or it will redirect it to the another URL. If you are more interested in how this mod underscore rewrite module has been implemented, how we can have the URL writing using this particular module, more details are given on the chapter 19. Next, cookies. So all of us must have heard about the cookies. The cookies are a client-side approach for the persisting the state information. So one thing you have to remember is here when we are using the cookies to manage the state, there is a limitation because these are on the client side. And whenever we have certain thing on the client side, there are a lot of dependencies. The cookie might get corrupted. It might get overwritten. So the state of that cookie, we cannot guarantee that whatever the state that has been there is the current state. So we have to make sure that if there is any critical functionality you want to implement, then cookies should not be used. For other user friendly, to make the user experience rich, if you are providing some UI things, you are putting some widgets which will enhance the user experience, maybe cookies can be used. If there are any critical functionality, then cookies should not be used. And for cookies to work, it should be enabled on the browser side cookies. So there is a chance that user might disable the cookies. So in that situation, if there is a critical functionality you are implementing, so that will not be working because you are using the cookies. So if there is any such kind of a functionality, that should not be done using the cookies. What are cookies? They are name value pairs that are saved within one or more text files that are managed by the browser. Cookies are nothing but the name and the value pair. Whatever is the state you want to maintain. Let us say on previous example, we saw there is a name, right? Okay, so artist name, year, and nationality, or some other information. And let us say you want to persist that on the browser side, you can have it as a name and the value pair. So here, artist is equal to actual name. So such kind of a information will be stored as a name value pair, and it will be stored in a one or more text files, which is managed by the browser. While cookie information is stored and retrieved by the browser, the information in a cookie travels within the HTTP header. So who makes the entry and reading from the cookie? That is done by the browser. So browser will manage storing the information into those files. Those files will be like, it will be on the client side managed by the browser, and inside that the information will be stored by the browser, and also it is retrieved by the browser. But however, whenever there is a any kind of a information that is any kind of a communication that is done to the server, the cookie information will be sent. Okay, cookie travels within the HTTP header. That cookie information will be sent as part of the HTTP header. The site that uses the cookies should not depend on their availability for critical features. So we have to make sure that cookies should not be used for any critical features. Okay, so that should be avoided. The user can delete cookies or tamper with them. So that is a possibility that the end user will tamper, or he might delete the cookies. So depend whatever the critical functionality which is dependent on cookies is at a big risk and should not be used. How does the cookies work? Here is one example. You can see here the user, he makes a request to the page in this particular domain, www.somesite.com. So it is a get request. That request is sent to the web server, as on the server side, as a as the part of the processing. Page sets the cookie values as part of the response. So we are setting the cookie values as part of the response, and you can see these are the setting of the cookies. So set hyphen cookie name is equal to value. We have a variable called as name, and it has a value of value. And similarly, set cookie name to value to, and you can see there are two cookies that are set, and the second cookie has a expiry date, expires, and some date and some date and year has been specified. So there are two types of cookies. Some will persist and some will not. So if you specify the expiry date, then it will persist, means it will be retained. The other cookies which do not have the expiration, as soon as the session ends, it will be removed. Okay, So this particular HTTP response contains the cookies in header, and this is given to the browser. Then what the browser will do? Browser saves the cookie values in a text file and associates with this particular domain, whatever the domain it has. So it will create a text file. Inside the text file, it will store these values, and it will associate that text file with this particular domain. Then the next is like the browser reads the cookie values from the text file for each subsequent request. So whenever a user is making, once it is written over here, whenever user is making subsequent request to this particular site, the browser will read those cookies and it will be sent as part of the HTTP request. So whenever there is any kind of a subsequent request, you can see the cookie information is sent back to the server. You can see a cookie and the two cookies that are available. That information is sent. Server receives those cookies values from the request header and uses them to customize the response. So based on the state, this particular state, the server will decide how to give the response back. There are two kinds of cookies, as I told before. One is called as a session cookie, and one is a persistent cookie. As the name suggests, session cookie will persist only during that particular session. As long that session is active, those cookies will be active. Once the session ends, then those cookies will be deleted. On the other hand, the persistence cookies will have a expiry date, and until that expiry date, those cookies will persist. A session cookie has no expiry stated, and thus will be deleted at the end of the user browsing session. Whenever the user ends his browsing session, the session cookies will be deleted. Persistence cookies, they have the expiry date. They will persist until that expiry date. So this is how we can use the cookies. We have a PHP code here, and we have a variable dollar expiry time is equal to time, okay, plus this is going to get the current time, and we are adding 1 day to it. So 24 into 60 minutes into 60 seconds. So in terms of a seconds, we are adding. So it will add one more day. That is the expiry time we are setting. Then create a persistent cookie. I have a dollar name, another variable having a value of username, dollar value Ricardo. Then I'm setting the cookie. I'm setting the cookie, so it is a name value pair, right? This name and the value and Ricardo. Those are the cookie. I'm setting with some kind of a expiry time. In this particular example, it has an expiry of 1 day. Whenever user accesses the web application for the first time, it will set the cookie, and that cookie will persist on the user side for 1 day. So 24 hours it will persist. It is important to note that the cookies must be written before any other page output. So it is very important. Whatever the cookies you want to write, it must be done before any kind of a page output commands you have. And reading a cookie, then like once you have the cookie set, then this is the PHP code. You can have is set, and you can use the $_cookie. This is the super global, similar to if you remember $_get and $_post, where whatever the query string information is available, that would be available with the that $_get or _post super global information can be retrieved. Similar to that, whatever the cookie information is that is set can be extracted using the $_cookie and passing the key as the what the cookie name is. So in the previous you can see the username. So this is the username, that is the name, and the value is the Ricardo. So this whenever you give this key username, it will fetch the Ricardo value. So first you are going to check whether it is set. So in this case, yes, it is set. So answer, it will what it will return is a true value. Is set true, then we are complementing, it will become false. Then it will come to the else condition. The username retrieved from the cookie is echo dollar underscore cookie username. So echo Ricardo. This will be evaluated as a Ricardo, and this is on the web page. Line will be displayed. The username retrieved from the cookie is colon. Then we will have the name of the user. That name of the whatever the value that is stored for this key, that is Ricardo, will be displayed on the browser. Using cookies, in addition to being used to track authenticated users and shopping carts, cookies can implement some of the other things. So some of the things we can use the cookies for, to check the authenticated users, checking their shopping carts. Okay. Other than that, remember me is a persistent cookie you can use. Remember me can be anything. So whatever whatever the particular user app should remember, you will include in that particular remember me. For example, some of the banking websites, many other websites, they provide some level of user changes. The way the UI looks for them can be configured by those users. Maybe they will set some widgets. In case of a banking systems, you want to see the summary, you want to see the FD accounts, you want to see the savings accounts. So whatever the way you want to say, you can set those widgets. Then according to that, it will show you every time you come to that application, it will show that. So that kind of a information you can put it in the persistent cookie remember me. And whenever user logins, it will read that cookie and it will present that web application or the web page in the fashion that user has selected. Then store user preferences. That is another example where you can store the user preferences. Maybe that web application is in multiple languages, multiple regions. So user select, let us say English and India. Those kind of information, whatever is the user preferences, should be stored, so that whenever user is revisiting that application, already you know all the user preferences, and according to that you will show the web page. Track users browsing behavior. You can do that. Browsing behavior can be tracked, how user is browsing. One second. So which part I was explaining? Sorry, I got disconnected. Are you able to see my screen? Hello, Prajit.
Hi.
Prajit, where did I stop? Where I got disconnected? Cookies is complete?
Started, sir. Yes.
Or just
Next.
this slide?
Yes, sir. This only were.
Okay, thank you. Cookie, as I told, cookie which stores the information on the client side as a name and a value pair. And whenever we are using the cookies in our application, we have to be very careful. If it is any kind of a very critical features, then cookies will create a problem, because cookies can be overwritten, cookies can be tampered at the user end, or cookies can be deleted. So if any critical critical features you want to implement, should avoid the usage of the cookies. While cookie information is stored and retrieved by the browser, the information in cookie travels within HTTP header. So, who saves the information in cookies? It is done by the browser as some kind of a text file on the client side. And browser is the one which is going to store the cookie information, retrieve the information, but cookie information travel along with the HTTP request. Whenever there is a HTTP communication, uh, cookie information will be sent as the part of the header. This is the one example how the cookies work. You can see here a user makes a request, and that particular domain is some site.com. He makes a request. On the server side, that request gets processed, and page sets the cookie values as a part of the response. So this is the response that this particular website is giving. And inside that header, we see the cookies are set hyphen cookie name is equal to value, set hyphen cookie name 2 is equal to value 2, and it has a expiry date. So you can see there are two cookies are set, and the first cookie doesn't have the expiry date, second one has the expiry date. So expires, and they have specified the date when it will expire. So there are two types of cookies. One is a like a session cookie, and one is a persistent cookie. This is like uh, as long as this like as soon as this session gets over, once the session gets over, these cookies will be deleted. However, this cookie, it will persist until this expiry date. This information, the HTTP response contains the cookies in the header, and it is given to the browser. Then what browser does? Browser saves this cookie information into some kind of a text files. Okay, either it could be one text file or two text file. It will save it on the browser side, and it will link these cookies with this domain. Okay, this domain is somesite.com. Those cookies will be linked to that particular domain. Now, whenever user makes other subsequent request, whenever user makes subsequent request, what the browser will do is browser will read those cookie information, and it will send that information as part of the HTTP request. You can see this is the HTTP request that is sent to the browser. and in that we can see the cookie information is sent. The first cookie and the second cookie information is sent, and on the server side those information will be those read on the server side, and appropriate action will be taken and appropriate response will be given based on the state of the cookie. There are two kinds of cookies. One is a session cookie. Session cookie does not have a expiry date specified, so it will get removed or it will get deleted as soon as the browsing session ends. Okay, session cookie will persist only until the until the end of the browsing session. However, the persistent cookies will have a expiry date. Those cookies will persist until the expiry date. Means even the browsing session is closed, if the particular cookie has a expiry date beyond the browsing session's closure, that will persist on the client system. How to use the cookies? This is a small piece of a code. This is the PHP code. Inside that I have a expiry time, $expiry time, and here expiry time has been set as current time plus 1 day. This is 24 hours into 60 minutes into 60 seconds. So whenever the first time user makes a request, that time this time will be set. From that time 24 hours, that is 1 day. That is how we are going to have that particular cookie, persistent cookie. Then I have a variable $name as a username, $value as a Ricardo. Now I am setting the cookie using the set cookie method. In set cookie method, I specify the name of the cookie, name of the cookie, and what value we are going to store. The name of the cookie is username and the value is Ricardo, and the expiry time is 1 day from whenever we are setting the cookie plus 24 hours 1 day time. And it is very important to note that all the cookies must be written before any kind of a page output. So before any kind of a page output, all the cookies should be written. Reading the cookie inside the PHP code, the cookie information is stored in the $_cookie global variable, super global, similar to $_get, where all the query information is stored. We can use the $_cookie, and we can provide the key as the name of the cookie. So username, this is the key. So it will fetch the value. So we are going to check whether it is set. So in this case, it is set. So it will return true. That is complemented. It will become false. It will go to the else block. In the else block, echo this string will be outputted to the browser. The username retrieved from the cookie is, then echo, and this is evaluated. $_cookie. We have a cookie called username, and whatever the value that is mapped to this username, that is Ricardo. So in this previous example, you can see Ricardo is mapped to username. That value will be fetched on the screen. What you will see, the username retrieved from the cookie is :Ricardo. In addition, in addition of tracking the authenticated users and shopping carts, that is the way we can use the cookies. Other than that, we can use the remember me persistent cookie. In the remember me persistent cookie, maybe you can whatever the information you want to retain from the user, so that when they come back in the next session, or the next browsing session, you will remember that and you will display the same thing. So user will have a good experience with a particular site. For example, your application might allow user for certain level of configuration, like adding some kind of a widgets. If it is a banking application, what they want to see on the when they land, whenever they start the application, what they want to see, maybe the summary of all the accounts, or FD accounts, or some other information. They can have those widgets, and remember me can have those information stored in the cookies. Whenever users come back, those can be retrieved back, and we can show what user has had chosen. And store user preferences. A particular website might have like a language, maybe some other information, region, okay, country, things like that. If user select, any user has certain preferences like English, India, then whenever he comes back to that application, we should store the user preferences and then display according to the user preferences, and track users browsing behavior. Whatever is the browsing behavior, we can track it. Next one is the serialization. As I told you before, serialization is converting any object into zeros and ones. Okay, that is used for the purpose of the transmission or for the purpose of the storage. Serialization is the process of taking complicated object and reducing it down to zeros and ones for either storage or transmission. In PHP, objects can easily be reduced down to binary string using serialize function. We can use the serialize function. It will convert an object into an binary strings, ones and zeros, a binary string. So for serialize function, input is any kind of object and output is a binary string. And opposite to this, we have unserialized method. Unserialized method will take the input as a binary string and it will convert back, it will construct back the original object. And for any object to be serializable, it must implement the serializable interface. So any object that implements serializable can be converted into a binary string using the serialized and unserialized method. In interface serializable, there are two methods that should be implemented by the whoever is implementing this particular serializable. The two functions are serialize and unserialize. We can see here we have a object here, dollar Picasso. It is of type artist, and these are the two subclasses and their objects. Dollar Chicago is a object of sculpture, and dollar Guernica is a it's a object of subclass painting. Now, this is the serialization. When this is the object is having all the information, first name Pablo, last name Picasso, and so on. When you call serialize and you pass this object, it will convert it into a binary string. And using unserialize, we can convert back this binary string back into the object. This is the code. uh, Class artist. So this is the previous slide. This is the artist class artist implements serializable. When we implement this interface, we have to provide implementation for two methods, serialize and unserialize. In case of a serialize, what we are doing, a return, we are calling the method serialize, and to that serialize method, I am passing array with all the elements as the attributes of the object. You can see the earliest date, and then first this first name, last name. So all the objects information I am passing, and I am serializing it. The unserialized method, it will take a input, okay, as a parameter dollar data. Dollar data is equal to unserialized dollar data. So whatever the binary string that we get here, we will unserialize, and this unserialized will give me a array back. So that array, dollar data array, will have the information of the original object. How to retrieve that? Dollar data, and you provide the name of the attributes as the key. When you give the name of the attributes as the key, it will get you the original values when it was before the serialization. This is how the output of a calling serialize, and you are passing the object. So this is how it will look like. It is not really readable the way it is displayed. It uses own serialization method. That is how it will get displayed. If the data above is assigned to dollar data, then the following line will instantiate a new object identical to the original. Now this is the binary string. I will call the unserialize, and I will pass this binary string as a dollar data. This will create an original object. Application of serialization. Since each request from the user requires objects to be reconstituted, using serialization to store and retrieve objects can be a rapid way to maintain state between the requests. So this is a one way of maintaining the state. Using the serialization, we can maintain the state of the objects using the serialization and getting the information using serialized and unserialized. At the end of the request, you store the state in a serialized form, and then the next request would begin. You deserialize and establish the previous state. Means what? At the end of the request, you serialize. So you will store that information, and you store that state in a binary string. And whenever the new request comes in, you first deserialize that binary string and establish what was the previous state. Next is the session state. Session state is the another kind of a state management. So this is on the server side. We'll see it in the next class.